Good morning, everyone. What we're going to be doing today is a very, very famous chapter in Sefer Yeshayahu, and it's chapter Yud Aleph, Perek Yud Aleph. It has the famous phrase, which all of us are familiar with, that ultimately in the time of the Messianic era, that we're going to find Vigar Ze'ev im Keves v'Namer im Gedi Yerbats, that the lion and the lamb will be together, will be lying down together. It is this picture of what is Messianic era. And yet, despite the fact that we're going to be talking about this over the next 16 psukim, 10 of which are really the Mashiach, the last group are actually the ingathering of the exiles, there is a great machloket over this perek itself. And the way to understand the machloket is really with the handout that I gave out to everyone, and that is the 12th perek of the Rambam in Hilchot Melachim, where the very last perek of the Rambam's Yad HaChazakah. And it's a long piece, but I did provide it for everyone here. And this is out of the edition that is, there should be more coming around. This is the edition of Rab Nachum Rabinovich, the Yad Pshuta it's referred to. It's an easier one, and the comments on the bottom are his commentary. And the Rambam writes regarding this, Al Ya'aleh Al Alev, don't think that anything from nature is going to change. Or there's going to be some change to creation itself. But rather the world is going to continue as regular. And that which is written in Yeshayahu in our perek, that the lion and that the wolf and the sheep and the panther and the gedi, the goat, will be lying together. Mashal v'chida. It is a parable, and it's something to try to understand. In Yana Davar, it means that the Jewish people are going to be sitting securely with the evil ones of the world. The ones who are evil are referred to as the Ze'ev and the Namer. Ze'ev Shenemar, Ze'ev Aravot Yeshadadam, Namer Shikid Al Arehem, Ve'achzru Kulam L'dat Hamet. Everyone's going to go back to a true faith. V'lo yigzalu v'lo yashchitu. People aren't going to steal. They're not going to cheat. Ella destroy. Ella yochlu davar hamutar benachat ki Yisrael shenemar v'yebuk kebakar yachal tevin. But rather, it's going to be people are going to be able to be sustained. They're going to eat comfortably, as it says. That the lion is going to be like the cattle. They'll be eating stubble. They'll be eating the straw, also from our perek. Everything is like this. In all of these verses which describe the Mashiach, mishalim him. They're all parables. And in times of Mashiach, we'll see exactly what's going to be the parable, and exactly what's hinted by them. And in fact, Chazal say, the only distinction between the world of as today and the world in the times of Mashiach, that all the only issue is going to be that we won't be subjugated to other kingdoms. Now, we'll do some more of the Rambam in a little bit, but this is the Rambam's approach to this perek. That this perek is talking as a perek. It's not literally. Whereas the Ravid, if you get right at the bottom on this page, Hasagot Ravad, or Avram Ibn Dawud, who is the great protagonist of the Rambam in terms of his Yad HaChazakah, if you look right at the bottom, and it's obviously Rambam presented in a different place. He writes, he says, what the Rambam is talking about here, this whole paragraph I just read, Amar Avraham, said Avram, and I was Avraham, the Ravid, doesn't it write in the Torah? That God is going to remove all of the dangerous, the evil animals from the world. Well, God's going to remove all of the evil animals from the world. Obviously, things are going to change from nature itself. The Ravid is of the approach that actually there will be changes to nature. And when we talk about wolves and sheep, literally that's what's going to take place. In Yemot Mashiach, there will be things that are miraculous. Now, the Ramban takes a middle approach. The middle approach is that there's going to be differences with how we are, which is going to impact the world around us. So there are three approaches: mashal, literal, something in the middle. Okay, things will change, but for different reasons along the way. Now, this Nevuah of Yeshayahu is actually being delivered in the time of Chizkiyahu HaMelech. And not only is it being delivered in the time of Chizkiyahu HaMelech, but according to many of the Rishonim, it's being delivered in the midst of the siege of Yerushalayim, when all looks hopeless, when the Assyrians have surrounded the city, and it's beginning to suffer from starvation, etc., that this prophecy is being delivered, and the prophecy that's being delivered is saying there will be a better time, which, by the way, is something that we've always found among the Jewish people. That if you look back in the Chumash, there's no explicit discussion of Mashiach. We can find references, but it doesn't seem like there's anything explicit within the Chumash itself. When do we normally talk about Messianic era? We talk about a Messianic era when we're in trouble, because we need the hope. Okay, when things are going well, you don't think about Mashiach in the same sense. So when we nowadays, with all the "We Want Mashiach Now," it's really nice songs, things like that. But really, in times of trouble, is where all of this comes to the fore. And therefore, even then, that this was the time of Chizkiyahu's, the siege of Chizkiyahu. It's after Achaz's reign. We've been dealing much of the time with Achaz. Achaz, who was evil. Chizkiyahu, who was the great Chizkiyahu, who could have been, if you recall, the Mashiach himself. This is being delivered at that time. In the beginning, in the Pasuk Aleph, it says, "Vayatzach choter migeza Yishai," and there will be a sprout coming forth from the stock. Okay, stock is one way, from the stump, actually, of Yishai. Yishai being David ben Yishai, from the Davidic line. The Dam Mikra says very simply that we talked about in the previous parak how the tall trees were going to be cut down. That was Assyria. And so we're using the same imagery. They're going to be cut down, and we're going to see rebirth. We're going to see growth that's going to be coming up at that very same time. Rashi says, when we talk about this choter, the choter is a shoot, a staff, and this is talking about the shevet melucha, that we're going to have the scepter is going to arise from this. And then it continues, v'neitzer misharashav yifrem. And ultimately, it's going to have then the netzer. Netzer is like a leaf, is going to come out from the roots. Now, this is a parallel structure. It's poetic. And so we can find differences between one half and the other. And some Meforshim focus on that. But really, it's a literary style of parallelism, which is saying there's going to be hope. There's going to be rebirth. The important piece to remember is from Geza Yishai, which refers to the Malchut Beit David. V'nacha alav ruach Hashem, and on him is going to be ruach Hashem. Now, this is a general statement, and what do we mean by ruach Hashem? Says the pasuk, it's ruach of chokhmah. Ruach chokhmah is what we will call in English knowledge. Ruach etzah, ruach uvina, and vina. Vina is what we refer to as comprehension. For those who are in education, if you remember Bloom's taxonomy, there's a difference between knowledge and comprehension. Knowledge is the ability to repeat things. It's basically I memorize things. Knowledge is a necessary prerequisite for thinking. Without knowledge, you have nothing to think about. There are people who only want to talk about higher order thinking skills. All you should be doing in school is higher order thinking skills, and they forget that if you don't know anything, you can't think about anything. Okay, so first you got to know something. That's knowledge. That's step one. Okay, bina, okay, means comprehension, meaning that not only do I know something, but then ultimately, the Radak says this, you find this in the Malbim, you find this other places, that you confront something that you haven't had, but you're able to understand how to deal with it. It's a step beyond just having information. It's using the information in a way. Etzah continues, Etzah Gvura. Etzah talks about you understand people, you understand how the world works. This is the Radak. V'ruach dat virat Hashem. And also you understand and you are in awe of God. So ultimately this person will have this netzer, what we'll refer to as Mashiach, will have those abilities, and v'hericho virat Hashem. And hericho. Now, hericho, how does it translate it in Art Scroll or in Sensino? He'll be imbued. Okay, the problem with saying imbued is reach is smelled, right? So vericho, it seems to be, okay, that he's going to have that ability to understand what's going on. Now, understanding and smelling are very different. But if you remember, we sometimes use this in English, and it's from the Yiddish that it doesn't pass the Schmeck test. Okay, that something doesn't seem right. Okay, in other words, sometimes the sense of smell is also used as a way of discerning is something proper or improper. Vericho birat Hashem, he will be ultimately given this idea of having the Yirat Hashem. And the Ibn Ezra actually takes this. He says, listen, there are things which your eyes can fool you on, your ears can fool you on, but ultimately, if you want to know if something's real or not, the Mashiach is going to be the person who's going to be able to give that test. He's going to have that sense. Well, it's the third of the senses that we're talking about. He won't be ruling by what he sees necessarily or what he hears. He's going to have that intuition of what's real. And he's going to judge righteously the dalim. Now, dalim, interestingly, the literal translation of dalim are the poor, but dalim are really the disadvantaged. So the disadvantage can include the poor, but it can also include the sick. It can also include the weak. It can also include the young. It can also include all of those other categories. Rav Carmel gives a whole list of possibilities of who could be included within dalim. Vochiach b'mishor la'anvei aretz. And he's going to decide with equity. Mishor is yosher. Okay, that says in Mitzudat David. He's going to use that straight approach to judge the people, unfortunately, la'anvei aretz, the people who are the poor of the land. Now, mishor can also mean, by the way, and mishor in modern Hebrew is the plain. You know, like the rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain, that kind of plain. Well, when we're talking about a mishor, it's a place that's easy to walk along. And so Rashi says that vochiach b'mishor, he's going to easily and quietly, it's lashon noach v'rach, he's going to be able to create this judgment, making decisions. Vikar eretz b'shevet piv, and he's going to smite the lands with the rod of his mouth. Now, what's the rod of his mouth? Well, according to Rashi, it's like what happened with Moshe Rabbeinu with the Mitzri. He'll be able to use, for example, his speech to bring about justice, but it could be actually using some kind of change within nature itself, according to those who suggest that he'll using the Shema Meforash. He'll have that power of speech, but power of speech, you could say, like Rashi says, that this means there's going to be a change to nature. Rabbi Victor Mibalgansi says it's just differently. He's going to use the power of speech itself, nothing extraordinary beyond nature, but he's going to be the ultimate judge. Yeah.
Okay. The beginning of the passage, then what is he judging the Israelites?
Whatever needs to be done, he's going to take care of them. It's not going to be judging against them. He's going to be the person who's going to look out for them. Okay? Yeah, not right. Uveruach sfatav yamit rasha. And with the spirit of his mouth, of his lips, he will put to death those who are the Rishaim. So far, what we're describing this person who's going to be coming, he's going to be a descendant of Yeshai. He's going to be a person who's imbued with wisdom and understanding, with strength and with political ability. He's going to have awe of God. He's going to have knowledge. He's going to, on top of it all, have that natural sense of right and wrong, which you get. And he's going to take care of the weak and punish the wicked. V'hayat tzedek ezor motnav. Righteousness will be how he girds his loins. V'emunah ezor chalatzav. And faith is how he will gird his chalatzav. The difference, the Malbim says, between girding your loins and girding your chalatzim. It says chalatz is a belt which is under your clothing. And the azor, normally that we talk about motnav, is a belt that's over. In other words, if you think about it for a minute, and I'm going to go give a strange comparison. Think about the old westerns, and the guys have two 6-shooters. I think is what they use for them, right? They have two 6-shooters on either side, right? What are his 6-shooters? Faith and justice. He's going to be the antithesis of what has been around before. That's how he's going to be his power, and that's how he's going to make a change to this world itself. Vigar ze'ev im keves, and the ze'ev, the wolf, is going to live together with the sheep. V'namerim gedi yirbats, and you're also going to have the situation where the lamb is going to be lying down together with the panther. Now, Rashi says, okay, that ultimately, this seems, well, Rashi is, let me go back a second. What Rashi is doing here, Rashi just translates what's happening. He doesn't directly say, hey, this is miraculous, okay? But the Radak says, okay, that what's going to happen in the time of Mashiach, and this is the second opinion in the Radak, things are going to go back to the way they were in Gan Eden. In Gan Eden, all the animals lived together, okay? There was no problem between them, and it's going to go back. The Rambam, as we said before, translate this all as a mashal and talking about the Jews and the non-Jews, that there will be peace ultimately in the world. The Ramban in this, and this actually comes up in Vayikra, Perek Chavav, Pasuk Vav, the Rambam says that what's going to happen is this is going to be talking about Eretz Yisrael, and because there's going to be such plenty in Eretz Yisrael, there won't be the need for the animals to attack one another. They'll have food without having to kill. And so as a result, there's going to be that kind of change. It's not a change of nature per se. It's a change in prosperity that will lead to this change of what we're used to. Now, interestingly, in all of these animals, we're looking, and we'll see even more in the Pasuk, they're talking about little animals versus the big animals, okay? Because we have a Gediv, Egel, Ukfir, Umari, Yachdav, and we're going to have also the Egel, the calf, okay? And we're going to have the Kfir, the young lion, and the Mari, which is Machloket, but it seems to be a fattened kind of cattle, according to Rashi, according to the Radak. It's a subspecies of cattle, are all going to be together. And what's going to happen? Vinar Katon, and a young child, Nohegbam, is going to be the one leading them. So it's talking about, there is on one place to talk about that it sounds like there's a new generation coming about. The young animals, the young boy, all of these changes are going to happen within the world. Ufara v'dov tir'ena, and the cow and the bear will graze together, yachdav, yirbetzu yaldehen, and their children are going to lie down together. Now, the Data Mikra points out that this is a fascinating phrase. And the reason why it's a fascinating phrase, if you think about it, just imagine for a minute bear cubs. Now, what do we know about bear cubs? We know that their mother bear protects them to the nth degree. And here we're going to have bear cubs and calves hanging out together. And the protector, the ferocious mother bear, is going to stay away. It's going to change that nature that we would imagine. Va'aryeh kabakar yochal teven. And as the Rambam pointed out, this is talking about the fact that the lions are going to eat just like the cattle. They're going to be eating straw. V'shi'asha yonek al churpatan. And children, the babies, are going to play around. Shiasha is like to play. The suckling, the young child, al churpaten. Churpaten is the hole in the ground where the cobra lies. Okay, in other words, it's not going to nothing bad is going to happen to the baby. Ve'al mu'urat tzifoni gamul yadohada, and also. And the tzifoni is another kind of poisonous snake, and he's going to be playing by the ma'ara, in this case, mu'urat is just like another hole as well, of where that snake is going to put out his hand, and nothing's going to happen to him. Lo yareu v'lo yashchitu b'chol har kodshi. And then there's going to be a quick shift. And at that point, what we're saying is these animals, They won't do any evil b'chol har kodshi, on all of my sacred mountain, ki mal'ah ha'aretz de'at Hashem kamayim layam mechasim. Because the entire world is going to have, in the entire world, when we talk about the entire world, there's a machloket. The Rambam says it's the entire world. The Radak says here in this case, it's specifically in Eretz Yisrael, because we say ha'aretz, the land being Eretz Yisrael. But the land is going to be filled with knowledge of God. Everyone's going to know God. So even with the Rambam, he talks about the fact that in the Yemot Mashiach, there are going to be Jews and non-Jews, but the non-Jews will recognize God, and they'll be good non-Jews. We have no problem with that. However, they're going to know God, and they're going to be kamayim layam mechasim, and they will be like water covers the ocean. Now, water covers the ocean is a very strange phrase. Water fills the ocean, but water doesn't necessarily cover the ocean. And so as a result, the Radak says that the word yam is talking about the seabed, just like the water covers the yam. The yam, according to the Radak, is not the sea, but it's the seabed, and therefore you can have water covering a seabed. There are other Meforshim who say, no, it's going to be like water on top of water on top of water. It'll just fill up all of the land. Kamayim layam b'chasim, that's going to happen in terms of the people who understand, who know God. Vayabayomahu, and it will be on that day. We're going very quickly today, and I apologize there, but it seems to be working. Vayabayomahu, and it will be on that day. Shoresh Yishai asher omed lanes amim, elav goyim yidroshu. This offspring, the root of Yishai, in other words, the Mashiach, who is standing lanes amim. Now, lanes amim, if you remember, a nes is a banner. Okay, people rally around the flag. Okay, that's the kind of banner it is. A nes is something that's outstanding. Now, when we talk about a nes as a miracle, it's because it's something that's, that it's just like flashing out there. It's out there, a miracle. Rashi says that what's going to happen is the nations are going to raise a flag, and everyone will come around it, including the Jewish people. On the other hand, the Radak says a little bit of a variation. Okay, and that is all of the people are going to go and follow what the Melech HaMashiach wants them to do. Elav goyim yidroshu. In other words, to the flag, they're going to start seeking. Now, is the elav that they're coming around the flag, rallying around the flag, and the Jews are coming with them? Or is the elav the Mashiach? That's the difference between Rashi and the Radak. V'haita menuchato kavod. And the place where he will be a place of honor. Vayabayomahu. And now we get into the description of kibbutz galuyot, of the ingathering of exiles. Yosif Hashem shenit yado. God will once again gather liknot et sharamo, to acquire the remnants of his people, asher yishaer me Ashur me Mitzrayim me Patros me Kush me Elam me Shinar me Chamat me Yeayam, who remain from all of these places. Now, once again is interesting. What do you mean once again God is going to do this? When was the first time God did it? So Rashi says the first time God did it was Mitzrayim. That again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to do what he did for Mitzrayim. Now, what's important about understanding that this Shenit is referring to Mitzrayim is because Mitzrayim was the only time when the entire nation was redeemed, when there was a Geulah for everyone. The second Beit HaMikdash, the majority of the Jews remained in Bavel. It wasn't that ultimate Geulah. And that's why, for example, on Musaf and Shabbos, think about it in Kedusha, V'hu Yoshienu v'Yigalenu Shenit. Now, when we say he's going to do it a second time, now shouldn't it be Shlishit? We're saying he's going to do it Shlishit. Why is it Shenit? Leinei Kol Chai, right? Because it's only Shenit. The second Commonwealth, the second Beit HaMikdash doesn't count because it wasn't everybody. And so here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to do like he did with Mitzrayim. Now, what's he going to do? He's going to get the Sha'ar Amo Asher Yishaer. Okay. Yeah.
Isn't the word, or why is the word liknot? Like that's not a usual word for being redeemed or to.
No, but it is the word when I want to acquire as my possession. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is bringing us back to his possession. And he's going to do the Sha'ar Amo. The Radak disagrees with Rashi's Shenit explanation, what I talked about from Tfilah, he disagrees with. The Radak says, no, why does it say Sha'ar Amo Asher Yisha'er? Is because, unfortunately, not everyone is going to return, according to him. Not everyone returns. And they're going to return from these various places. Now, where are these places? So Ashur we know is Assyria. Okay, that's simple. That's Syria, that area there. Patros or Mitzrayim, we know that's Egypt. Okay, that's easy. Patros is the upper Egypt. Okay, it's actually the higher part of Egypt, which is the southern portion of Egypt is called Patros. Kush, we know. Kush we normally translate as Ethiopia. More likely it's the Sudan of today, not Ethiopia, but Ethiopia and Sudan were at different times, the boundaries were different in there. And Kush, and this the Dat Mikra points out, and not the Dat Mikra, Carmel points this out, that when you see in Tanakh Kush, it means one end of the earth. What's the other end of the earth? Hodu. Hodu. Those were the areas of the earth that were populated, the civilized world. And so as a result of it, when we say Hodu v'ad Kush, and all the descriptions are, the Gemara and Megillah says Hodu v'ad Kush were right next to each other. That Achashverosh had control of his entire empire, just like two lands are right next to each other. There's another thing, they were two opposite ends of the and he had such control of his land. But Hodu v'ad Kush is representative of the whole world. It's the two ends of the earth that we imagine in the times of Tanakh, what they had. And so it's going to be from Kush, from the ends of the world. Elan is Khuzestan. Now, Khuzestan is the southern portion of Iran. Shinar, that's Bavel. It's another term for Bavel. Hamat, we're really not sure where Hamat is. The problem with Hamat is normally Hamat is a city. And the difficulty with it is all these other places are countries. So why would the city of Hamat, which could be Arpad, which was in Aram, it's the Rabbi Victor Mibel Gansi says that, but we're not really sure. So the Dat Mikra suggests that this is actually Achmata. Hamat here is Achmata, which was the capital of Madai. And he suggests, okay, it's a city, but since it's a capital city, it's like a country. It represents the entire country. We're not sure. Umiyeh Hayam and the islands. These most likely are the islands, the Greek islands and other islands in that area of the Roman Empire where we were talking about as well. So the Jews are going to come from all of the different, if you look at the different directions we're talking about, we start out with north, we go south, further south, we then go west, then we come back east, then we go northeast. We cover from all of the areas where Jews had been exiled. And we know Jews were exiled in all of these places. Don't just think the Jews were exiled just to Babylonia or to Ashur. Yeah.
So in the second Beis Hamikdash, was it not considered like a real I guess, because
according
didn't come from Hashem, came from
no, all of it came from Hashem. If you remember back in Sefer Ezra, we see that this is all the difference of the second Beit HaMikdash over the first Beit HaMikdash, the second Commonwealth over the first Commonwealth, to be more particular. There's the differences in the two Beit HaMikdash. We know there wasn't the independence. We never had independence. We were always under someone else to varying degrees, whether it's the Persian Empire or then we had the Greek Empire. Okay, then ultimately with the Romans enter into the picture. So we have a second Beit HaMikdash, but we don't have that ultimate Geula that we are looking for. If I'm saying the ultimate Geula is represented by what happened from Mitzrayim, after Mitzrayim, when we entered into the land of Israel, we conquered the land of Israel, we had our own country. That didn't exist. No, when we were in Mitzrayim, right.
So now, let's say tomorrow, today, whatever, we're all over the place.
Right.
So we're more like the second.
We are in exile now, right? In other words, the exile in Mitzrayim, we were concentrated in one region, and it's easy to gather them all up and move them to Eretz Yisrael. But we're looking more.
There wasn't a king giving us permission to make a.
No, correct. Now, having said all of that, if I look at the end result, the consequence of all of these things, how does it end up? Mitzrayim ends up with all of the Jews in one place. Wherever they came from, they end up in one place. Post the Babylonian exile, the second Commonwealth, building of the second Beit HaMikdash, you end up with Jews, concentration, a small portion. It wasn't the majority of the Jews living in Eretz Yisrael, and the rest of the Jews spread all over the world. High concentration in Babylonia, but we also were in Rome, and we were in Europe, in Espana, which really is in Spain, but we were in areas of Europe. We were in North Africa. We were all over the place. Okay, so that wasn't a successful kibbutz galuyot. This is talking about the ultimate kibbutz galuyot, where people are all going to return. There is a machloket, which still exists, of will there be, a Eretz Yisrael and a Bavel? Will there be an exile? Will there be a diaspora at the time of Mashiach or not? Remember, there's even we see the nevuah of Prazot Teshev Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim is going to grow so large to be able to encompass everybody. We're not really sure, and that's one of the things the Rambam talks about as well. I don't know it all, says the Rambam. The Rambam says, we're going to have to wait until it actually happens, and he says this. We're going to have to wait, okay? As he said, that second paragraph. Okay, in times of Mashiach, we're going to know a lot more of what really is going to be the case. In other words, when we don't know what it is, we're not going to be troubled by it. And in fact, even though it is one of the principles of our faith that there will be a Mashiach, and we will have the ingathering of exiles, and there will be Tchiyat HaMeitim, the fascinating piece of it, it doesn't bother us that we're not sure of how and what it is, because it doesn't impact today. Because I don't necessarily know what tomorrow will bring. I believe it'll have this, exactly what that is. I'm able to leave it as a doubt, as a safek. It doesn't impact my behaviors of today. And that because it's not a halachic machloket. Just to continue a little bit more with the background music, V'nasan nes lagoyim. What will happen, God will give a sign to the non-Jews to allow us to return, according to Rashi, according to the Ibn Ezra, that God is going to give the sign, and we're going to see V'asaf nidchei Yisrael, and those people who are dispersed from the Jewish people are going to be gathered in the Futzot Yehuda Yikabetz, Me'arba Kanfot Haaretz. And those who were exiled, who were scattered from Yehuda, will be brought together from the four corners of the earth. Arba Kanfot Haaretz. V'sara kinat Ephraim, v'tzorei Yehuda Yikaretu. And the zealousness or jealousness of Ephraim will be removed, and the fighting within Yehuda will be ceased. Ephraim lo yekanet Yehuda, v'Yehuda lo yetzoret Ephraim. Ephraim will not be jealous of Yehuda, and Yehuda will not create problems for Ephraim. What is this talking about? Well, you have the two monarchies. Remember, there was this competition that always took place between the two. But interestingly, Rashi says this talks about Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David, that they will both operate in concert. Now, we have two Mashiachim, we know this. Mashiach ben Yosef is the political Mashiach. There's the famous, I think I shared with you many years ago, the famous explanation of Mashiach ben Yosef that Rav Kook gave, the shir he gave at the Hesped for Theodor Herzl. It's called the Misped HaGadol. And at that, he describes that the Mashiach ben Yosef is the political Mashiach. He will accomplish the political necessities, and then there will be a Mashiach ben David, which is the religious leadership, from Mashiach ben David. But also, what is happening is Yosef is the northern tribes. David is the southern kingdom, and these two kingdoms that had split in the time of Yeravam and Rechavam will no longer have that split. They're going to be working together. Interestingly, the Mari Kras says that there's even a step beyond that, because if you look in the pasuk, first it starts out with Kinat Ephraim, and then it talks about the Tzorei Yehuda, and then it talks about Ephraim not being jealous of Yehuda, and Yehuda not being creating troubles for Ephraim. it sounds like they're different steps. It doesn't sound perfectly parallel. And so the Marikra says, no, what's happening here is within the Jewish people, within Yehuda, there were different camps that were fighting. Within Ephraim, there were different camps that were fighting. First step is there's going to be no infighting within those two camps. And then those two camps will stop fighting, and that's going to be the Tzufah of the Mashiach. The afu bechatef plishtim yama, and they're going to fly bekatef plishtim. Katef plishtim is the region of the plishtim to the west. The plishtim went this way. In other words, afu, when I say someone's flying, it means it's going to be very quickly the conquest of their enemies to the west. Yachdav yavozu et bnei kedem, okay, and together they're going to spoil the nations of the east. Who are they? Edom, Moab, Mishloach Yadam, Uvnei Ammon Mishma'atam. And they will obey them. Ultimately, Bnei Ammon is going to listen to what they do. Edom and Moab is going to be sending them tributes as well. We're going to conquer the enemies from around us. Vecharim Hashem et Lashon Yam Mitzrayim. And God is going to smite, he's going to destroy the Lashon Yam Mitzrayim. Now, Lashon Yam Mitzrayim is a machloket that it could be the Nile, it could be also the Nahar Mitzrayim, which we know is actually located in the Sinai. It's another river, not the Nile itself. But when HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to destroy, what does it mean? It's going to dry out. Okay, it's going to be dried out. Ve'nif yado al nahar bayam rucho, and God is going to raise his hand. He's going to raise his hand ba'ayam. Now, ba'ayam, the Radak and others point out, that word is not found anywhere else in Tanakh, and so they understand it from context as being an element of strength. And ultimately, the mighty river is going to be divided into 7 streams. Why 7 streams? Well, if you remember back in a couple of psukim ago, we talked about all the different places where the Jews are going to be gathered. Ashur, Mitzrayim, Patros, Kush, Elam, Shinar, and Hamat. So those are the 7 areas which had taken Jews captive. This is representative of the 7 areas. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to take Ve'nif Yado al HaNahar. Now, what's HaNahar? The Radak says HaNahar, what's the river? It's the Nahar Prat, the Euphrates. God is going to smite that river, going to break it up into 7 small streams, with which it's going to be possible V'hidrich b'na'alayim, you're going to be able to walk through it with your shoes. One possibility, because they'll be dried out. You'll be able to walk across it, just like, by the way, that we're talking about walking across, if you remember, the Red Sea. Similarities with the Kibbutz Galuyot, the time of Mitzrayim. The other possibility, and this is the Radak suggests, is that it's going to be small streams. I'm going to be able to walk because in between those small streams are going to be dry lands. V'haitam silam. And there's going to be a path. L'sharamo, to all of the remnants of his nation, asher yishaer me'ashur, that are going to remain in Assyria, asher haitali Yisrael biyom aloto me'eretz Mitzrayim. And this path will be just like the path that was when we came out of Mitzrayim. That this is going to be, and this goes back again to the same comment which we made before in the name of Rashi, this is in essence a second Geula comparable to Mitzrayim. We're talking about drying up of water, of seas. We're talking about being able to walk across on dry land. We're talking about the ingathering of exiles. We're talking about the idea of the nace, of the banner. Just remember, all of the Shvatim had their own banners that they walked through. We're talking about this new leader, Mashiach ben David, who's going to come and redeem us. And the parak ends with that very same concept, that ultimately it's going to be like the day we came back from Mitzrayim, which we now understand, meaning everyone's going to be coming as well. Now, just to finish off on this parak with the last piece of the Rambam, if you just turn to the back page of the Rambam, I gave you the whole parak because it's just so good. Okay, the last page of the Rambam writes, and this is the way he ends his Yad HaChazakan. Uvolto azman, lo yesham lo ra'av velo milchama. In these times, there will not be famine, there will not be war, there will not be jealousy and competition, because the goodness is going to be infused everywhere. And all of the good things are going to be just like you could get dust. All the good things are going to be there. The only thing people are going to be worried about is understanding God. And therefore, there will be wise, great people, and will know those things that are hidden and are deep, and they'll achieve understanding of their creator, according to human ability. Because it says very clearly that the people will know Hashem. It'll be filled throughout the world. Because in the way the Rambam and the Yuds that we have nowadays is an abbreviation, the way he abbreviated it is with a triple Yud, basically, like that. That's all. So what we know here is the Melech HaMashiach. This parak definitely talks about Melech HaMashiach. There is no question that this is used by Christians for their purposes. When the Christians use it, the easiest answer is they take it, by the way, literally. They don't follow the Rambam on this. We just have to ask them, okay, can you show me a couple of panthers lying down with other animals? Can you show me all of this peace in the world? Can you show me everyone getting along? Can you show me? Now, it's important, the ingathering of the exiles, it's important for them. Okay, because this would also play in their theology as well. And that's why they help us. Every time the Christians are helping us, the evangelicals help us, not because they are Zionists, but they're not our kind of Zionists. They're helping us because they're waiting. Okay, they're waiting that we should be successful so that they'll be successful. And when they're successful, we're not going to be successful anymore. Okay, and that's where that great machloket comes. And this parak is one of the great prakim of Sefer Yeshayahu that is used by them. We're going to stop here. I know it's early. Next week we will be back. Hold on 1 minute. One question, Mira? Yeah.
Is this parable a parable?
That's the Rambam. It's all a parable. Okay. However, the Ravid says it's all literal. And the Rambam is okay saying we don't know. That's the beauty of it. We don't know. There's certain things we aren't going to know. If I ask you, if I ask a futurist, what is going to be? I'll give this is probably not a good example, but I was asked, we were talking at the final meeting of the academy, of the faculty meeting, we were talking about policies regarding cell phones. And I made a comment to the teachers. I said, in another 5-10 years, the policy is going to be outmoded because we're probably not going to have cell phones. And they looked at me like I'm Meshuggah. Now, I can be Meshuggah. It's entirely possible. But we have no idea what's going on. Now, does that stop me living my life today? No. And I live my life today in anticipation of a future. And the future can be something that I have no definitive knowledge about, just broad strokes of what will be. And the broad strokes, the Rambam says, are the broad strokes of that final paragraph that I read, Halacha Hey, where he talks about that we will come to a time where there will be peace, where there will be goodness, and where our major task in life will be Ladat et Hashem, to know God. So that's that much we can deal with. If it's halachic, we need to have a decision. If it is a question of emunah, we just have to have faith that we'll understand it when the time comes. We'll stop right here. Everyone have a wonderful day.